Hey folks, welcome back. I want to tell you about a new project I'm going to be starting very soon. I've already started to select some of the lumber and I'll show you that in a moment. And it's all to do with this area on the wall behind me. I need to put something up there to hold some new toys. I've been gifted recently a couple of packages of old planes. One large crate of moulding planes, hollows and rounds, and other shapes, beading planes, sash planes. Very fortunate to have been gifted those by Peter and by Jim, so I hope they're watching. Now I've come up with a quick sketch of what it's going to look like, and now I need to look at the lumber and decide how I make the panels, because they've all got to be made up from scratch. I'm going to be making it entirely from reclaimed lumber, reclaimed pine in fact. These are some floorboards from the current house, which are at least 50 years old, and some floorboards here from an addition to the house which are about 18 years old. So a lot of different bits. None of them are wide enough for the depth of the wall unit I want to make. I've got to make up panels that are 10 inches wide, so in most cases I'm going to be adding either 2 or 3 boards together into a panel. That's like I did for this panel here. This is a leftover piece I made for another project, and when we're making a panel up with different boards, we have to joint the edges of each board together so we get a nice tight glue line, and also so it keeps the panels flat. If we don't get those edges jointed at 90 degrees or equivalent angles on each side, then they won't go together flat. And if we made up a board like that, that's really lovely and strong. The glue joints is easily as strong as the rest of the wood, and that's going to be perfectly good. It'll work just as well as a full-size panel. Now these shelves on the right hand side are going to be for the various wooden planes. There's also going to be space on top for a long wooden jointer, some panel saws and hand saws up this side, and then some back saws, so tenon saws, dovetail saws in this section here. It's going to be a very useful unit. It's going to get a lot of things up on the wall which otherwise are taking up a bit more space in the workshop. Now I'll make plans for that available to you as well. It will be certainly a very useful unit to me, and if you have a similar set of tools that you want to get up on the wall, then it might be useful for you as well. Now it's a good opportunity for me to show some joinery. The corners are going to be dovetailed, so I'll maybe do a separate video on how I do those corners. And the shelves are going to be housed into the sides, so I can do a video on doing housing joints. Hopefully it'll be a lot of fun and you'll all enjoy it. Now several months ago I showed a new sharpening system that I was going to be trying out for M-Power. Hopefully you saw that video. I couldn't give any recommendations on it at the time because I really hadn't had much time to try it out. Now that I have, as far as doing bench plane blades and larger chisels, fantastic, works really well. And the stones I've used, they've been the only sharpening system that I've been using for those months, and they seem as sharp today as they were when I started, so that's good. Also, stay with the positives for the time being. The covers that come with them that have strops on them, and it's 3 different stropping compounds that are supplied with them. All works really well. I'm getting some lovely edges on my plane blades and chisels. Working great. However, there are some drawbacks. Now you'll see they have an interesting patterning on the top. That is to help hold the lapping fluid and to take away the swarf. I was intrigued about the patterning. I wondered why they did that. Most of the other stones you see have got diamond patterning or none at all. And herein lies one of the problems with these stones. If you're trying to sharpen something quite narrow, I'll just use this as an example. On a forward stroke, every so often you'll catch in those lines. And the narrower the iron that you're trying to sharpen, the worse that happens. Sounds great, doesn't it? The narrower the iron you're using, then the worse, or the more times you get caught up in the grooves. The only way round it is to do all your sharpening by pulling, and that does work. But if you're trying to do gouges, moulding irons, things like that, which don't have large flat areas for the cutting surface, large straight areas on the cutting surface, then you're constantly fighting because you keep dipping down into these channels, and that's just not good for sharpening at all. Now compare that with most other systems. You'll see here there's a diamond patterning, and you're never catching that. It's fantastic. Why on earth they changed to this pattern, I don't know. On the really coarse stone, the 300, it's not a great problem, I suppose. You know, the odd catch, you're not going to damage the edge of the tool too badly, so when you move on to a finer stone, you can clean that up. But they've done this pattern on all the stones, right through to the 1200. And that really is, as far as I can see, a bad mistake. Now, given that this is a higher mid-range up to premium range sharpening system, certainly judging by the price, I think that's a real problem with it, and to be honest, I can't recommend it for that reason, unless you're only doing bench plane irons and medium to larger chisels. I think you're going to end up being dissatisfied by the number of times you catch the edge of your iron on those little channels. It's a real shame, because otherwise it's a great system. But I've got to be truthful and tell you what I think about it, and that's it. I would not recommend it. Now hopefully, when they see the feedback from me and from others probably, they'll do something about that and change it, because the quality of the stones themselves seems to be really good. They seem to hold up really well. The engineering on the actual base for the stones, that all works really well. The strops work well. You know, it's just this one thing that's really letting it down. Hopefully they'll address that, and I'll be able to recommend them in the future. Anyway, I thought I'd update you on that, and this seemed as good a time as any. Also, we've finally got to 50,000 subscribers, so thanks to all of you for viewing and for remaining interested in what I'm posting. I'm sending out some goodies from the workshop at random. Maybe you'll be one of those lucky recipients. Keep watching out, and I'll see you soon. Cheerio.